months ago, I was at the White House when President Trump announced his Liberation Day for America's trade policy. It was a landmark day. Well, today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authorities. You kill people and break things for a living. You are not politically correct and don't necessarily belong always in polite society.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announcing a series of changes for the military personnel that he says will raise the standards of combat troops and free commanders from the fear of violating internal military rules.
You may remember Secretary Hegseth called hundreds of the nation's highest-ranking military leaders back to Quantico last week to speak to them, but went a different direction than most probably expected. A large part of Hegseth's speech was dedicated to prioritizing physical fitness and, well, being well-groomed, even if that meant fewer women in combat roles.
If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression. We're going to cut our hair, shave our beards, and adhere to standards. Because it's like the broken windows theory of policing. It's like when you let the small stuff go, the big stuff eventually goes. When it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it.
Announced the military's internal complaint and investigations process would be overhauled to eliminate frivolous complaining.
We are overhauling an Inspector General process, the IG, that has been weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat. No more frivolous complaints, no more anonymous complaints, no more repeat complainants, no more smearing reputations, no more endless waiting, no more legal limbo, no more sidetracking careers, no more walking on eggshells.
Hegseth also defended several high-profile firings and ended by saying that if the changes bothered anyone in the room, they were free to leave. They should resign.
After Hegseth's speech, Trump took the stage where he called on his top generals to use American cities as training grounds for their troops and suggested that they should use violence against protesters.
We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor. People are standing, and their mouth is this far away from their mouth, and they're spitting at him, and they're screaming at him. And that soldier's standing there, he wants to knock the hell out of the person, but he's not allowed to do anything. So they just stand there and they get abused. If it's okay with you, generals and admirals, I've taken that off. I say, they spit, we hit. Is that okay?
Of course, reaction was swift following Hegseth and Trump's speeches. Independent journalist Aaron Rupar calling Trump's speech a, quote, major escalation in a post on Blue Sky, writing, quote, hard to imagine how anyone with a shred of dignity can keep serving after this, which of course is the point. Meantime, Don Lemon appearing on Dan Abrams' show yesterday, calling out Hegseth for railing against DEI in the military.
In his definition and the Trump administration's definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion, Pete Hegseth is a DEI hire. Pete Hegseth is not qualified for that position, and he shouldn't be in that position. So therefore, it's very tough for me and many people in America to take him seriously about anything.
It was hard to watch.
Don Lemon is a
gem.
Useless person.
It was
no one cares about at all.
Well, he's doing pretty good. He's up 900,000 subscribers now on his personal YouTube. He's in D.C. asking the tough questions back to his journalism roots. And he's having a good time doing it and growing his own media company. But Irrelevant or not, 900,000 people agree that he's not. Separate from that, I think that this speech from Hegseth and Trump was incoherent, rambling, and just downright confusing. I think that the way that they attacked the military, it seemed more like a campaign rally and kind of
attack the military.
Yeah, get rid of your beards if you have hair. Like some people grow their hair because it's a family thing. Some people like attacking the way you look, attacking women in that, saying, "Oh, get out of these roles. If you want to serve our country, you don't belong there. You're not fit enough."
Attacking, saying
it
they
just
have
very
to
much
meet
was a
objective
condescending.
standards.
It was just a very much a condescending thing, especially attacking our country. President Trump called it a war from within. And so the fact that you're talking about Chicago and using it as a training ground to, I ought to hit them, like this is very childish, and asking generals and people who actually lead major wars or in position to be able to do that, to go have war within our country and within our major cities is kind of absurd. I think should be to any American to have our president standing up there and saying, yeah, practice here for what we do internationally. And then the whole joke about it with Hegseth saying mess around and find out. You guys know the analogy. I'm not going to say on air, but like making jokes at the time about how much we're going to be hard on people and be fighting. Like after we just changed this thing to the War Department, it just seems very much anti everything that America stands for, from fighting internally and also trying to be more war prone outside of the U.S. when most people in the country want to be less involved in international conflicts.
So there are things he said and things Trump said, excuse me, that I agree with and things I don't agree with. In terms of women in combat roles or trimming your beards, being in better shape, I support all of that. We should have the most effective fighting force that there is. The standards should be objective, exactly like Pete Hegseth said. If you can,
are you ineffective with a higher hair? Are you ineffective with a beard?
They shave your head in the military. It's part of the ethos of it is you're not an individual. You're part of an elite fighting force, and so they discourage superficial individual expressions. You want to express yourself as an individual, the military might not be the right place for you. That's what he's saying. That's in keeping with military teaching and training. That's fine. I don't object to any of that. I think that's great. I think the emphasis on physical fitness is great. The holding generals to the same standard, great. All that good. What I like less is some of the rhetoric from Hegseth is a little bit of this kind of tough guy, I can do more push-ups than you sort of thing that I just find
And I like to see him go through the
obnoxious.
training. He's like, oh, if I can do it.
He can do it. He's in good shape.
Well, yeah, I see good shape. I like to see him
He can do the Hegseth, see him doing the pull-ups?
You know what Don Lemon brought up was a good point. He's never been in military contact.
I don't believe you.
He's never been in a military situation at all, like as far as leadership.
Hegseth?
Hegseth has never had an active military positioning. He doesn't know how to go fight combat at war. I don't think that he actually has.
I don't know exactly.
He literally was a Fox News host.
No, he was in the military prior to that.
Okay, well, if he still has
I
the
think
same.
he was in combat. I don't know exactly.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, he was in combat.
Okay, fine. He was a combat veteran ages ago. So let's say he was. But his latest job was a Fox News host. So if he still has those same skills and it comes back to this position and he's seeing over 3.4 million personnel and for a military and leading them this erratically, I think that would be uncomfortable. To think that anybody who has that lack of experience or such a history of experience, but most recently you were a television host like you and I, telling people what they should do for the future of our country under an erratic leader who's telling people to punch people in Chicago. I think that's all a recipe for a disaster.
I don't want to consider domestic crime to be a war like an invading force, because I think that gives the government too much leeway to misbehave, and there's just kind of a. So yeah, I agreed with parts of it. I disagreed with parts of it. I'm not sure it was necessary to bring the whole military here, but
and we paid $6 million to do that.
Standards for performance is fine. We're not going to make it so you only have to do 6 push-ups if you're overweight or different or female or whatever it is. It's just whoever can pass it can be in the military. And for combat roles.
And do you agree that millions of dollars, I think last night it was estimated $6 million to bring the troops there to tell them cut your beards and shave your head and fight in Chicago? That was such a waste. No, the advice plus the $6 million to do it, you couldn't.
Well, we could have done it under.
Yeah, they could have done that in Zoom. That was a ridiculous show. That was a show for just.
Fine, that was a
campaign rally.
I would have saved. I'm all about saving money, so we could have done it that way.
A new AI actress is sparking outrage among actors in Hollywood, what they say about it devaluing their profession. We'll be right back after this.